Hey guys, if you're interested in how the tint business works, a little bit of ice machines and a lot of commercial real estate, stay tuned. We got Chuck Wriston from Solar Shield of Seneca on this episode of SouthCack Syndicate Podcast.
Hey, this is Liz, and you're listening to the SouthCack Syndicate Podcast.
Welcome back to the SouthCack Syndicate Podcast.
Who are you?
This is Kyle Voss in the house.
Jared here.
We got Mr. Chuck Wriston with us.
You have the best part of class of 96 in this.
There you go. Absolutely.
On your airwaves today.
So, as you can hear, we're all Wahala graduates, same year.
I may have just dated us a little bit there.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
We don't look it though.
The good thing is,
That's right.
That's right. We are, yeah. At least in our eyes.
That's right. And Chuck is probably our fourth guest that has actually brought us a gift to the podcast. We appreciate it.
Welcome.
This is Chuck's hard worked on old fashioned recipe. Many trials and errors to get it just right.
Yeah. And they're good.
And I don't
so
even
good.
drink old fashioned, so this is tasty.
Right.
What kind of cherry is it? It's not.
No, it's not a maraschino. It's a
black cherry.
It's a black cherry. It's a bourbon cherry. It's made just for bourbon drinks. It's called
A bourbon cherry.
no, they're called, what are those
Filthy.
things? Filthy cherries.
Filthy black cherries.
Filthy black cherries. Let me tell you what, just the juice inside.
Yeah.
So I took a canister of those things to the beach a couple years ago. I'd take the juice and drizzle it on a cheesecake and stuff. Man, you talking about good? It was fantastic.
I used to stay so skinny.
Anyway, I don't want to get off subject. We kind of mentioned Chuck in a past podcast. We didn't mention him by name, I don't think, on the tinting business. But Chuck owns Solar Shield of Seneca right here in Seneca, South Carolina, a booming business. He's killing it. We kind of wanted to bring him in and talk. You know, we've talked a lot side hustles and establishing a thriving business from a side hustle. And that's exactly what he's done with that. You know, that was, for a long time, that kind of was his side hustle out of his garage at his house, his spending cash. Or maybe
Race of money.
yeah. Or maybe somebody else is spending cash.
Well, yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
So, we wanted to kind of bring in somebody that did it firsthand versus just us talking about it. So I guess let's go back to how did you get started in the business? It was kind of a freak thing right out of high school, right?
Well, I was working for a place in high school and we tinted windows and then later on I bought it.
Yeah.
And continued to tint windows.
But when you went to work there, you just showed up needing a job part time,
10th grade in high school.
washing cars at the time.
Yep.
It worked out great for you because you could wash your own car.
That's right.
And and the reason I want to bring that up is because I think there's so many young people out there that are like, I can't find a job I like or whatever. I feel like you need to just go knock, go ask, right? And then while you're there, learn.
Especially when you're in 10th grade. Try new things. Try different
Yeah,
things.
you ain't got nothing to lose.
You can't fail. You're young enough to recover from anything there is. Like,
That's right.
Do it all.
Well, and the great part about the story is he ended up buying the business.
Well, tell us,
It was years later, but
tell us more about that.
Well, the opportunity came to buy the business, so I bought the business. And at this point, I'd been tinting windows for about 5 years. And it was a great opportunity. The owner wanted out, gave me a great deal, bought it. I was young, married, and just took the bull by the horns. And later on, actually it was 9/11. The episode that happened in 9/11 scared me to death because I was young, early 20s. And I was like car detailing, window tinting.
yeah, man, this could go away at any time.
I'm the first one to go because people are going to eat before they get their windows tinted. So I sold the business and actually got into the funeral business, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
And so you kind of, some time went by.
I had a no compete, so I waited on my no compete and started tinting windows out of my garage. I was into drag racing and funeral business wasn't supporting my wife, family, and extracurricular. So started tinting windows out of my garage just to make extra money because it was something I was already good at. And before I knew it, I was tinting windows 1-2 days a week and was making more money than I was at the funeral home all week.
You're like, man, maybe I need to rethink this.
And I enjoyed it a lot more.
Yeah. You're at home.
I was at home. So
we don't have to answer to anybody.
That's exactly right.
That's the key.
Yeah.
That's right. So eventually was able to quit the funeral home, started up Solar Shield. Matter of fact, you came up with the name and the logo for me.
Cool.
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did.
That's pretty cool.
Part of this story is that I worked for Chuck for a couple years in those years between funeral home and him buying it. There was a couple years I worked for him. And you know me being the business guy, I'm like keeping my eye on all the what makes the money, whatever. So when it came back around, he's like, man, I think I'm gonna start another business. I was like, dude, I think you need to focus on, because there was a non-compete for a while. I was like, I think you just need to focus on houses.
Well, now that I'm thinking back, the no compete was just
for cars.
Just cars.
Yeah.
So we were able to go ahead and start
So I was like, let's
residential.
just start something on just housing and commercial buildings, because the margin was better there anyway. And Chuck's like, yeah, that's a great idea, and we can focus there. And there was a company we used to buy Tint from called Solar Guard.
Yep.
And I always thought it was a great name. It basically the name
It tells the story of
That's
what it is.
exactly right.
What is it? It guards from solar.
Yes.
It
Right.
shields from solar.
So when he was like, I think I'm gonna start another business,
pretty slick.
I was like, I got a name for you. And we didn't want to take Solar Guard. I was like, we'll do Solar Shield.
Yeah.
It's perfect. It says what it does. It blocks the sun, right? Versus like so-and-so window tinting. Like some people don't know what that is, or how it works or whatever. So anyway, I came up with a quick logo, which is not what it is now. It was some kind of other funky something.
Yeah, it was like a sun or something. But
yeah. And we were picking up odds and end jobs, commercial. I think we did like Bed Bath and Beyond. And
Wait, are you still in your garage at this time during the starting of Solar Shield?
yes.
You're still in your garage. No real estate out there yet. So people are dropping their cars off in your yard, and you're pulling them in and tinting them. One man show.
Yep.
we're picking them up.
Well, and there's another local guy who tints windows. His name's Rudy. Everybody knows Rudy.
Everybody knows Rudy.
Yeah, Rudy would come over.
He's like the godfather of tinting around here.
Yeah. Actually, my first car I had tinted, I paid Rudy to tint it.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Mine too.
Yeah, so,
He actually cut, if anybody's been to the podcast room or to Wriston Co., he cut the sign for Wriston Co. that we bolted on the wall as our sign and put the backing behind it.
he made the Solar Shield sign that's on the building, both sides, and hung it. So
Love that dude.
Yeah, dude's awesome. He's, anybody knows Rudy. If you need something, don't know how to do something, you call Rudy.
Figure it out.
Yeah. So Rudy was helping me because we were also building a race car together. So my car, his motor kind of deal. So
Just made sense.
So I had Rudy helping me, but then, Rudy's job and kids and whatnot, he kind of quit, and I had an opportunity to get a shop, which oddly enough, it was a little 3-bay shop, and it's behind my shop now, where I'm at now.
Okay.
But it was off the road, but small town, Seneca, Walhalla, everybody knew me, so I was doing plenty of business, but I saw a building on 123. I kept looking at it, and finally I stopped one day.
So reference 123 is like our main bypass. I don't even know it's called the bypass. It's the actual main.
It's a one of the main 4 lanes through our county.
It's where you want to be if you're in business.
That's right.
So I stopped by, talked to the owners. It had been for lease for 3, 4, 5 months, and
It probably wasn't the most. It wasn't the perfect place to do window tinting the way it was set up.
it could have been better.
Yeah, it could have been better, but you made it work.
We made it work, and where we're at now, I don't know how we made it work, but we made it work. And a little 1-bay shop, and they wanted twice what I was paying on a lease payment. Talked to the guys. They gave me the first year for what I was paying at the other place. Cut it in half.
Just to get you in the door.
8 years later, I asked them why, and they said they thought I'd only be there 6 months and gone because
You should have signed a 10-year contract.
Yeah, I should have. So
That's awesome.
but they were good to me. They only went up. I was in that shop for 9 years, and they only went up on rent one time, and that was the second year, and they only went up $200.
Yeah, you did good.
I did
especially
great.
for that.
They were awesome.
Is that correct me if I'm wrong, was that a dual rentable building?
It was. Yep.
Yeah, so you had
Sure
front
was.
end and you had back end. So they were
It was
probably
split
getting
down the middle.
Oh, okay. So you had one side and they had the other side. Gotcha.
Yeah. And the owners actually occupied the other side. So
cool. It wasn't free money to them.
Yeah, to them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
So we moved there, and I hired one guy who has now been with me for over 10 years. And let's see, February of December of 2021, I was able to buy where we are now. So I started in my garage, 2-car garage by myself, and now we got 7,500 square feet under roof.
Yeah.
Heated and cooled, and 5 employees. And
Let's back up just a little bit because we kind of skipped over that first employee. Like, how important is it to find the right people?
I want to spend a little bit of time on this subject.
Yeah, no
I'm
doubt.
heavy.
Yeah,
because I want to say, in your industry, turnovers like clockwork. I mean, it happens all the time.
Yeah, we've had a lot.
They find a better job. They don't like getting their hands wet. They thought they wanted to do it. It wasn't for them.
Yeah,
but your turnover's got to be pretty heavy.
It was at first, but now we have a great team.
That's awesome.
I've got one employee who's been with me for 4 years, and everybody else has been with me longer than that.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So the guy that's been with you 10 years, what he asked for, he pretty much gets.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but his name is Corey, and Corey is, man, he's fantastic. You would think if you didn't know any better, you would think Corey owned the place.
Which is what you want.
That is exactly what you want.
That's what you want.
I call it the act as if model. Act as if you are the owner.
And he does. He cares about it, and he's like, this is my livelihood as much as it is yours.
That's right.
We're going to grow it. If an employee's not doing something they're not supposed to do, he's the first one on them.
You know, the thing I like about Corey is that he stepped in. He didn't have any experience, did he? You taught him everything.
I did. He didn't have any.
So he comes in. Chuck teaches him everything he knows as far as tinting goes. But Corey was good enough to then go out and learn other techniques that Chuck didn't teach him, and then bring those back to him and be like, hey, look, I seen this thing.
So you got a guy that self-educates and
Yes.
brings it back to the shop. Not only is that amazing and really, really rare, but it provides what I would call an exit strategy whenever you're ready, because this guy's shown himself to be, I can do anything there is to do.
And the way I kind of, owning the first tent business, I learned a lot on how, with employees, what to do. So I learned what motivated employees and what turned them away. So with Corey, from day one and even to today, and with all my employees, but it started with Corey, I gave incentives. So, like, for instance, when he first started, anybody who knows anything about tinting a back window is the hardest thing. You got to heat it. You got to know how to install it.
You got defrost lines on the older vehicles.
So his first deal was his incentive. I'm like, you learn how to tint a back glass, you get a raise. And Corey actually learned the trade quicker than I did when I first started. And Corey went from his base salary, what I started him at, in the first year with the incentives, he had doubled his salary.
Just on the things he learned.
Well, I mean,
which is awesome. Yeah.
Do you, and you do not have to answer this, do you incentive-based pay? If they bring you a customer, is there a kickback? If they do X amount of numbers a month, is there a bonus? Do you do any kind of incentive pay?
I do. It's everybody's on salary. They all have their salary, but the incentive is like, if we do X amount this week,
You bonus everybody out.
I bonus everybody out.
So it's like a profit share.
Like a profit share.
Yeah. And there's different ways to do it. When we had the podcast
We talked about this for a whole episode.
when we did performance-based pay, we didn't really touch on the whole bonus out. We talked about it for a second.
right.
Everything we talked about was performance-based,
Depending on
metrics based on each industry and each individual employee. But I like it when you just say, hey, the low-hanging stuff's here. If we get the high-hanging stuff, I'll bonus everybody out.
I worked at a factory here locally for, 4 or 5 years back in the early 2000s, and they called it a PIP check. Right? It was a profit sharing incentive is what it was. And, man, every quarter we'd get this check, and it would just, thousands of dollars, one check.
Yeah.
And
Make you work hard the next month, don't it?
Dude, we were just busting it. And back then, we were in our 20s. We didn't know what to do with all this money. There were more new four-wheelers and bass boats. And then when they stopped the bonus checks, repoing started happening in the parking lot.
People started quitting.
Well, what they did was, this is very important, what they did was they added that bonus check into their actual annualized budget of their household. You can't do that because it's a bonus check, which means it can go away at any time.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't look at it that way. They just thought that was an extra $12,000 a year that they were getting, or whatever the number is.
And
when it goes away,
yeah,
you're over leveraged real quick.
no more bass boat.
No more nothing. Yeah.
And all my incentives for those guys are weekly.
Oh, cool.
And that way they know, like they budget their salary. And my guys are all young. I'm old enough to be every one of them's father, which there I go dating us again.
I'm not though.
Yeah, you're not.
The good thing about that though is there's going to be another generation. You know, you got to think.
That's right.
There was a time when you were the young guy, right? And you learned things from those folks ahead of you. You know, you almost have, not only do you have an obligation to keep these guys employed and teach them things, but you also have an obligation to kind of teach them how to fill your shoes one day. Not necessarily in that business particularly, but in whatever they do in their life.
Well, I want them all to be successful. That's my personality. I want everybody to be successful and everybody do good and everybody be happy. So, but the first thing I teach anybody who comes to work for me is how to talk to people.
Amen.
It's the most important.
Because in our line of work, if you call my shop and you're asking questions about window tint, you don't want somebody going, hold on, let me go ask.
Let me find somebody.
And I'm like, you price something wrong. If you're going to price it wrong, price it low. If we lose $20, $30, it's not the end of the world. But don't do it again.
Yeah.
Learn from it. And but be, you know.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah.
Have confidence.
Yeah. I mean, and that's, you know, it's, I don't know. I kind of applaud you for that. You gotta, you know, the fact that you're kind of letting these guys feel like the owner, you know, back to what you're saying, you know, you got to give them enough confidence to be like, no, I want you to run this place like you own it. You know, talk to customers, do this, do that.
Well, there's a lot of things you see them on Facebook and you know, and I'm not claiming to be the best boss or the best whatever, but I see things as like, I want to be part of the team. I don't want to be standing up there pointing my finger. I want to be like, all right, guys, let's do this.
You agree that it's a fine line though.
It is a fine line. You can't give too much. A lot of times kindness is mistaken for weakness.
You know, the main thing I see to that is the reason it's a fine line is because they don't see the risk that you've taken on your shoulders. They've never felt that risk, right?
Right.
And so you can be right there with them, a part of the team, except for that there's a whole nother world of the business that you have to deal with that they don't.
That's right.
Right. And so because they don't have to deal with it, to them, there's, you know, they don't feel it. They don't understand it.
Well, they love that blanket. They want to wrap themselves in that security of not having to worry about paying the overhead.
Right.
Yeah.
They're happy with their salary. They love their boss. They love what they do right now.
That's 99% of the country.
That is 100%.
Yeah.
99% of the country.
The problem is
there's nothing wrong with that because without those guys who love that blanket, man, we wouldn't have this glass right here.
Yeah.
You know?
The problem with
Everybody
that
can't be a chief.
That's right.
Yeah. The problem with that though is this, and not necessarily in Chuck's business because I don't know, but like in just general business, is a lot of times the Indians, or you know, in your scenario, the Indians kind of look down on the chief because they're like, I know what you're making, I know what you're doing, but this is the thing. Is that me?
It's not me.
Yeah.
Oh, it's me. My bad. I had to have my ringer on because my daughter's getting some exhaust work done, and she's kind of freaking out a little bit about how it's going to go. And I said, listen, I'll turn the ringer on just in case you need me, but that wasn't her. So anyway, you know, back to what I was saying, the Indians kind of look at the chief and like, they get a little bit like, hey, I see what you're doing based on our merits. But what they don't understand is the amount of sacrifice and stress and leverage that.
That's right.
All right, we're turning this one down. That they've had to go through
All kinds of exciting things happening.
Yep.
they've had to go through in order to get to that position, even just to hire that person.
That's right.
You know, it's like the whole adage of the pencil maker. You know, I'm just making pencils for you. You're making money on me because I'm making all the pencils.
That's right.
I need a raise because you're making way more than I am. Yeah, but the guy that started the business had to buy all the equipment, had to buy the building, had to do all this, hire all the people, have the overhead, have to pay the payroll, all the things that you don't have to worry about as the pencil maker. So I get that you're not making as much as the guy that runs the company, but you didn't have near as much stress and leverage as he did either.
Tell you what, you want a raise, I'll split the overhead with you.
Yeah. Well, we have that conversation a lot. My guys, you know, we give each other a hard time. We have a good time at work. We're not we try to have a good time because if you're having a good time at work, day goes by.
Yeah.
Everybody's happy. They want to come to work tomorrow.
And in a perfect world, that's what you want.
Yeah, but a lot of times they'll be like, because I'm not always in their hands on tinting because at the end of the day, I'm paying them to do it. Mm-hmm. And so I try not to say that to them because it's came up and
because they're salaried.
They're like, you're like telling, we don't want to hear that. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to let you get behind. You're leaving here at 5:00. But a lot of times they'll be like, oh, you scared to do this? You scared to do that? And I have to remind them, I'm like, there was a day when I did all y'all's job by myself.
Yeah.
In a little 2-car garage. And now you've got the luxury of being in this big shop with air conditioning and whatnot.
Or even back to when you were working for somebody else tinting, like you did their job for somebody else.
I did.
It wasn't like, when you talk about in your garage, you're still making 100% of that profit, but you also were in their shoes as at one point working for somebody else, working your ass off, tinting, learning the business, talking to customers, doing all the things.
I found it difficult when I had a lot of employees. Small town, not much to do. You become good friends with your employees.
You do.
You hang out after work.
And that's what you want in a perfect scenario.
The problem is when it's time to slit throats and hoist the black flag, you're not friends anymore. At the end of the day, you're under me. I'm responsible for what you're doing under this roof.
Yeah.
And it has caused some issues at some point. And it's hard for some people to separate that line. If you're missing my paycheck, let me tell you, it ain't hard for me to have a conversation and kick you down the road. We'll still hang out.
Yeah.
But
when you're
not jumping me, right?
Well, and the problem too is you have to realize is that if the owner of a business becomes so friendly with the employees that he can't draw that line,
that's right.
The whole thing's going under, and the employees are losing their job as well.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Right.
Everybody's replaced.
Everybody's gone at that point.
Mm-hmm. So I want to back up. We know where you kind of are today. I still want to talk about some of that, but I want to back to your old shop days, your first shop that you bought. Were you nervous? Was it? Because, you're still in your young 20s, probably not 25 at this time when you purchased, right?
No, I was 21, I believe.
And then what? Did you have to borrow money for that?
I did. And that there's a banker here in town.
It was a signature loan, wasn't it?
It was.
That tells you how far back that was.
Well, I can't get one of them no more.
Well, the thing is yes, I was nervous. But at the time, I was living in my wife's home that her parents owned, so I didn't have a house payment.
Yeah.
I had to pay the utilities and all that good stuff. But
it was a good time to take a risk.
It was, and he sold it to me so cheap, and I knew how much the business did that I knew I was going to be okay.
And then did anything keep you up at night? Like 6 months after you signed the paperwork, you're now the owner of a business. You got 1 or 2 guys at that time probably, and were you just going, crap?
Anytime we weren't booked out about 2 weeks, I did. I stayed up all night. And unfortunately, it's still that way.
Now, this was pre-social media, too.
It was.
Right? So there was no direct advertising to consumer or nothing like that. It was a billboard at Miracle Circle, and there we are. And
I was still paying a Yellow Page ad.
There you go.
Yeah.
The first Google.
Oh, yeah.
The thing is, I think some of the stuff that he struggled with in the early days was that this particular location was kind of a hangout.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's tough. That's a tough way to run a business when people are hanging out. I think that's the biggest difference you ran into between then and when you came back to 123 is that the good thing about that building is it wasn't really that great a place to hang out.
Well, I also learned a lot.
That's true.
I learned, one, I'm not going to hire friends.
That's right.
Because it's hard to separate, especially if you're already friends.
Yeah.
And so I decided I wasn't going to hire friends, and I knew it wasn't going to be a hangout. It was going to have to be a business. And, and even then and now, I tell my guys, I'm like, don't make me be the boss. And normally that's all it takes. Mm-hmm. So, and the whole hanging out thing, there's, I think being in the funeral business helped me learn how to talk to people. So when people would want to come and hang out, and people still kind of want to come and hang out, if they're, overrunning their welcome, I guess you could say, I would just be like, hey man, we're stupid busy. I'm not trying to be rude, but can you come back at 6 when nobody's here?
There you go.
So, and people are like, oh man, my bad. Yeah, I'm gone.
Yeah.
no problem. So
Yeah, that's got to be a tough part of that business.
I remember when Tommy was in the shop was kicking in its prime, and his dad was running the desk back then. Boy, if you pulled up to
His mom,
his mom,
or his mom, Hey, you were getting work done?
Yeah,
you got a ride coming?
Can I help you?
Because you ain't standing here all
Do you
day.
need to pay for something? That's
right.
what she would
That's
say.
right. Do you need to pay for something?
she would guard the door, boy.
But I tell you, nobody hung out there.
You're right.
Like you'd go there and hear that one time, and you were done.
Which is good because if she didn't do that, there'd probably be all kinds of people.
If
hanging
I'm
out
in
there.
his parking lot, then I'm getting work done.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm probably sitting in the office in a chair waiting on it to get done, and not out there shooting the bull.
You definitely were.
That's right.
You're right.
That's right.
Yeah, that's funny. You bring that back. Well, cool. So let's, let's take a break real quick.
Okay, let's do that.
And then we come back. I want to kind of fast forward to where you are today. Because it's leaps and bounds. You know, you kind of mentioned the building, but that's a big leap too for you. Because you didn't own any of the other ones, right?
No, I didn't own any of them.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
you just own the businesses. You didn't actually own any of the buildings. Now he's in the real estate game.
That's right. And we're going to hear all about it after these messages.
Let's face it, shopping for insurance can be time consuming. When it comes to your auto and home insurance needs, make things simple and trust your Allstate experts. They will help you get the coverage that fits your needs while helping you bundle your auto and home. Bundling saves money, sure, but it also saves you time. So you can enjoy the things that matter most even more. Contact Clemson Allstate agent Shane Smith at 864-654-1047 today for a free personalized insurance proposal. Allstate, are you in good hands?
All right, we're back with Chuck Wriston from Solar Shield
Solar Shield of Seneca.
Seneca.
You know, the thing that's awesome is when he first, we came up with the Solar Shield. And then he like kind of did his own thing, and it was like Solar Shield of Seneca. In my mind, what I thought is, oh yeah, we're gonna license this thing. It's gonna be like Solar Shield of Charleston, Solar Shield of there. Yeah, that's my first thought. I was like,
we're gonna franchise it.
we're gonna franchise it.
That's a lot of work.
A lot of work,
A lot of road time.
Well, and the thing is, though, is technically it could be done.
Of course.
You'd basically sell the license, and then have like a 6-week course.
Oh, that's right. You have to graduate.
You graduate in order to take on. You graduate, right? Mm-hmm. You teach them the business of tinting, of talking to customers, booking stuff.
It's the subway school.
Exactly. And then once they're gone, maybe they pay a yearly dues, and maybe like
To use the name because it's already successful.
and maybe like you have like a summit meeting or something every year, and you kind of
Conference.
you get together.
Here's what's coming new. Here's where you're going to get your discount.
Yep.
I like that. You're going to do that?
I have talked about it before, but
Really?
probably not. We were just talking in the break about we're too young or too old for
Yeah,
certain
that's
things.
right.
I think I'm past that.
Yeah, but if it's a separate business, you could literally have that as a totally separate business.
I'll let your 10-year guy do it.
Nah, you got it. Yeah. I don't know. We'll talk about it after the podcast. How about that?
Yeah, let's do that.
Podcast wants 10%. I'm just kidding.
Or just a sponsorship.
Well, I'm at this stage in the game. I'm trying to
Slow down.
trying to get Corey more in the office, I guess you could say, and the day-to-day stuff that only I can do right now. Because as you know, I don't know if you know, but I got other things going on with the ice machines and other
Real estate, yeah.
commercial
So
properties that I have to deal with. So
So I want to get into that towards the end, but everybody thinks of window tinting, cars, trucks, hot rods. That's it. That's all, most of the time. But now you're in a really different, unique market than you do houses. A lot of lake houses, a lot of sun-facing commercial buildings. Hey, tell me about like the first phone call. Hey, y'all do houses? Did that happen, or did you market yourself to do residential and then get into commercial?
well, when we started Solar Shield, because everybody already knew we did cars, so all of my marketing stuff went towards houses. So because houses, the profit margin is way greater on a house or a building, and it's all flat glass. There's no curved glass. There's no seals. There's no dirty seats or any of that stuff.
yeah.
So
No Big Mac stuff between the seats of the car you're trying to. Seriously.
it's happened. It's happened.
Boogers on the window.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you got to. So anyway, go ahead.
You wouldn't believe what we see, but so we really want the housing, commercial, residential stuff. That's where we really want to be. We're going to always tint cars because the need is there, and I have guys that are great at it. But we can, as far as profit margin, we can in a day we can make 400 or 500% more in a house or a commercial building than we can in shop tinting a car. So
Because Obviously, your dollar amount's a lot higher, but your margins are that much better on houses than they are vehicles?
They are, because say like a 4-door car, average price $200, no matter what it is. Well,
Sure.
if you go tint a lake house, or it doesn't matter what it is. If we tint a mobile home or if we tint a lake house, the price is the same. We charge a certain dollar amount per square foot. So you get a window that's humongous, say 5 foot by 8 foot window, and most lake houses have about 10 of them. You're charging by the square footage. So, I mean, you just do the math. And
Sure. Yeah. There's a lot more glass on a house than there is a car.
There is. And the techniques that we have today, like that we didn't have 10 years ago when you were working for me, we could, like, I can tint that window by myself. Where 10 years ago, we didn't have the same techniques. People just learn techniques and they share them on YouTube and whatnot, and we've learned them. And so it's just, and you're in the air conditioning all day.
I think part of the difference too,
With no Big Macs.
there's some reason for the margin that doesn't necessarily have to do with the cost of goods or the actual labor time itself. I mean, when you're tinting cars, all you need is 24-inch rolls of tint.
That's right.
Right. So when you start doing houses, you can't just stock those. You have to have now
8-foot rolls.
Or and the
larger.
silvers and the whatever, and those are big investments for him to stick in the warehouse and just hang on to until he gets a job, right? So I think that's the big difference too, is that, and then knowing how to do it. I mean, there was a time where me and Chuck tinted a house, and I'm, we're on the top of a step ladder with a cooler on top of the step ladder, with me standing on top of the cooler and him holding it. We've done that. Like, we didn't know. We were just young.
Were you ISO 9000 certified?
No, the owner was looking at us like, man, I hope you don't fall.
Yeah.
That's what homeowners insurance is for.
He's spraying the tint, handing it up to me, and I'm
Wobbling.
to the top.
That was when we thought we knew what we were doing.
That's right.
No, that's when, we knew we didn't quite know what we were doing, but we were like, man, we're going to figure this out.
We're going to get it done.
Yeah, we're going to figure this out.
Did I hear earlier you say you met somebody during the residential tent job?
I met my wife. Which I met my wife when I was in the funeral business. And my first wife and I got divorced. Another story, another day. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting at home one day, and I met her. She worked at the hospital, and I met her then, so I knew who she was. And this was, maybe a year later, and her husband had passed away a couple of years prior, and I was sitting there. Her name is Mary, and I was sitting there watching TV, and the movie Something About Mary was on. So I sent her a Facebook message and then told her, sorry, I don't see you anymore. I'm not at the funeral home tinting windows. And she sent me a message and said, I'd like to get a quote on getting my house tinted.
Not, hey, nice to hear from you.
No,
Hey, by the way.
You tint houses?
Yeah.
You should come give me a bid.
That's Mary, though. Even if she was thinking different, she's going to keep it on the DL and be nah, we're just going to keep this straight business.
Yeah, well, she looked through my profile before she commented, and she'll tell you, she said all she saw was car, boat, couple kids, car, boat. And my very first profile, because I had to start a new Facebook, and my very first profile picture was a picture of me, and she was like, oh, that's cute funeral boy. And, that's what she'll tell you.
She knew Chuck as cute funeral boy.
That's what she'll tell you. So
awesome.
So I went and gave her an estimate on the house, and we sat and chatted for probably 2 hours while I was there. And I have seen her every day since.
I heard that.
Well, now, in full disclosure, Chuck was interested.
Very.
Yeah, he was interested before he gave the quote.
Of course.
So
he reached out.
Yeah, he made that quote take a while.
Yeah.
He had to come back and remeasure. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like I'll be,
That's right.
a 10-minute deal, and I'll call you tomorrow and give you the price.
Yeah.
He worked it for what it's worth.
There was no playing hard to get with you.
Not with me.
Not with you at all. Yeah, I'll come over. I'll remeasure. Yep. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Mm-hmm.
Well, honestly, I was so captivated by her, but I truly forgot to measure the bathroom. So when I was figuring up and it's a big bathroom. So when I was figuring up the estimate, I was like, and I'm fresh, I just started this thing out of I was still working out of my garage. Mm-hmm. And, so I was like, I need to come back over.
Do you mind?
Yeah, do you mind if I come back over and measure your bathroom?
Yeah.
Again?
What a pickup line.
And I actually figured it up, put a huge discount in there. And her first thing to me was, I just want my windows tinted. I don't want to buy new windows. She was rough on me, but
she's about that paper too, though.
Oh yeah. So I mean, this side hustle that started in my garage, like, brought me to the best thing that ever happened to me. Because she's awesome. She's the wife that every man deserves. I mean, she's awesome. So,
well, and the thing is, everything from Mary to the business you've built, everything you've worked hard at. In my personal opinion, from the outside looking in, it's not like, I don't know. Tinting's hard anyway because it's always been associated with like the car stereo places or the this, that, right? Chuck's kind of taking it to the next level where it's
professional
business.
It's industry now.
It's industry now, right? I mean, we're talking about franchising it, which we're going to make happen. So
that's awesome.
If you got, anybody listening or watching, you want your own tint franchise, hit us up. We'll figure it out.
We'll make it happen.
Where can they email us at?
SouthCackPod@gmail.com.
We'll set you up. Tell me what's next for the next 5 years. What do you see Solar Shield doing in the next 5? Not money wise, but do you see a second location? Do you see getting into a different piece of stuff that you're not into, or you like just steady and grow it from where it is?
We're just going to grow it from where it is. We're every time I've tried to venture out and do a second location, I'd either have an employee quit and I couldn't.
And then you're having to travel to go tint those windows.
Yeah, and with the location we have now, I mean, we've got so much space extra. We may add, I'd like to add more employees. I'd love to have a crew in shop and a crew tinting houses every day. So, maybe just adding staff and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And along that same question, where was Tint in 2000 or whatever year you got started compared to where it is 25 years later?
It has came a long ways, especially residential.
So it's not just black film anymore. It's spray a little water on and put it up.
There's so many different types of film now. And like, everybody's like, what causes this back window to bubble up like this? It's either one, you get a defective roll. We've had it happen. But you do the right thing in business and you fix it for the customer because it's not their fault.
That's right.
Most film companies nowadays, they're great. If they'll cover the film, I cover the labor when that kind of thing happens. It's only happened once. It happened about 5 years ago. We got a bad roll and back glasses. We're doing that, but we did the right thing. We fixed it, and our customers, leaving Google reviews. Hey, this happened, but they fixed it. They and that's all people want. People want to be treated like people want to be treated right.
That's right.
We've talked about on this podcast where when you do that, when you tell that customer, "Hey, that's on us," whatever, you actually have a better customer long term.
You do.
Because when you
get better word of mouth, right?
When you do the right thing, they're like, "That's my guy. I'm never going anywhere else."
Mm-hmm. Well, that and again, like I think everything in life teaches you something. So going to the funeral home, I was at the funeral home for 8 years. So being there, I met with families, I did everything, and meeting with families in that time of their lives, you learn how to empathize, you learn how to sympathize. So when people come in now and say one of those customers came in, they're a year later, their back window's all bubbled up, and they're like, they come in and for whatever reason, the world we live in, people are like, I'm going to go down there and cuss them out. I'm on this, I'm on that.
I'm on keyboard cowboy them guys now.
Well, people will come in and they're mad before they even talk to me. And when they leave, they're always happy. Yeah. Because I'm like, listen, hold up.
Yeah.
You don't need to do this. I'm going to take care of this for you. Let's just talk about the problem. Let me fix it and let's move on. And that alone has got me that long-term customer.
Yeah, for sure. About.
So tell me the difference in tinting my beat up Z71 4-door and a new Tesla. Is that going to be about the same cost?
Anything but the Tesla Model 3 or the Y, yes.
Yeah. It's all pretty similar.
So let's get into why, because the cost is an absorbent amount higher, right? But why is that? Just because of...
Well, certain vehicles such as the Tesla Model 3, the roof and the back glass is one piece of glass. So you got to have some skill to do it. You take a C6 Corvette, for example, and there are very few tinters in the world that can do a C6 Corvette back glass in one piece. I promise you.
They usually split it.
Yeah, they normally split it, seam it on a defrost line or something, and now Corey is at the skill level he can do it. Yeah. And I'd venture to say that within 50, 100 miles of where we're the only two that can do it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I could be wrong. There may be others that can.
And that's the thing
they
is,
normally come to us because others can't. So.
And that's the thing about them specifically, in my personal opinion, is not that it can't be done tint wise, but it's like, how tight does it fit? How clean is it? Is it in one piece? Mm-hmm. You know, when you have, you know, the old days of like splitting the tint and you see the dark line in your back window, when somebody else can do it solid and maybe you pay them a little extra, like that's the difference. I also think there's a huge difference nowadays in the kind of materials you get. So, you know, the old days, your tint would turn purple. I think those days are probably long days. They're long gone now, or is there still companies that?
There's still companies out there. I mean, it's like anything. I mean, you can buy a cheap tint and it's going to turn purple, but honestly, to buy good film,
not much more.
You can charge $10, $15, $20 more per car, and your overhead's the same.
Yeah,
I mean,
and so then
why not buy good tint? One. It goes back to treating people the way you want to be treated. I don't want to take my car and have something done to it. Even brakes. I don't want to take my car to the shop, have brakes put on it, and they buy the cheapest brakes they can so they can make more money on it. I want good brakes.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put good tint on, and that protects me because I don't want to redo your car. I want to tint it and it lasts 20 years because
You don't have to redo it, right?
I don't want to have to redo it.
And the thing is, nowadays people switch out cars faster than the tint's going to last anyway. So it's like you get a core customer. 4 years down the road when they buy a new car, they're bringing it back to you.
They are.
Yeah. You know, it's.
I have some customers that bring me 3 or 4 a year because I just love the truck.
Shout out Jared Ward.
I got a Polaris Ranger windshield. You tint that?
Is it plexi?
Yeah.
He can tint it. Now,
what's the most random thing that somebody's brought to you and said, hey, can you tint that?
Alarm clock.
An alarm clock?
Alarm clock was too bright and she couldn't dent it.
tint this one.
No way.
Yep.
That's the weirdest thing.
You know what's cool about tint too that people don't realize is that, well, for one, there's, he talks about buying, spending an extra $15 per car to buy good tint. Well, there's also tint that's way better than that. It's the ceramics, right. And there's also tint that doesn't have any. You can actually tint a car that doesn't have any color in it. Am I correct? But it'll block out UV.
So it's like our blue glasses, right? They look clear reading glasses, but they take away your computer light kind of thing.
Well, the advantage to it is that like you can put it on your windshield. You won't have any dash cracking from the sun UV rays coming in.
Yeah, the ceramic, they make a 70%. It does have a little bit, but you can't tell it. I mean, it's basically clear, and it's awesome.
It knocks out glare from cars coming on.
What's on your front windshield?
Mine is 30.
Yeah, don't ask him.
Mine's dark.
He's dark.
I live everywhere. I live in a dungeon.
This was the guy that put 2 layers of 5 back in the day. Mm-hmm. You know the song "We Got 5 on It"?
Yeah.
That wasn't about marijuana. That was about Chuck's tint. Chuck's tint jobs because I got 5 on it. Like that was him. Everything he had 5 on it.
Yeah, it's still that way. That my truck, that SUV I got out there, they all have 5 on them.
I'm same. I like it, and then I backed up into a tree one night because I couldn't. Now we have backup cameras,
right.
but back in the day, you
buzzers and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, your seat will vibrate before you hit something. Now, so we got 5 on it.
Yeah.
You remember the ASI line that everybody's like, "Oh, you can't tint past the line." I was like, "Well, scrape the ASI off. There is no line. You can't do that." Is that still a thing?
Yeah, it's actually. Not to correct you.
No,
it's actually
AS1.
It's actually an AS1 line.
Oh, perfect.
And they, for whatever reason, back in the 90s, early 2000s, that was something they don't care anymore. I've not had a cop or a customer have a problem with the AS1 line in 10, 15 years.
Has the front strips kind of went away a little bit?
Nobody rocks the rocker anymore.
I will say, of the cars that come in, probably 70% get the whole windshield done. Mm-hmm. Probably 20% get a front strip, and the other 10 don't get anything on the windshield. But the windshield tint is really, because you have the 70, which is clear, and that gives you UV protection. But the 50% gives you just enough glare protection to where, like, if it's raining at night, it takes the glare away. You can see better.
Oh wow! So there's a safety benefit.
Yeah, there is.
We all did it just to keep cops from looking in your truck.
Now, granted, it's
it's
all illegal, but and I had it.
Do they sign a waiver?
They do.
Off-road use only?
Well, no. See, I had a meeting with a judge, and I was like, listen, because I was getting rumors that they were going to shut us down. They were going to do this. They were going to do that. So I met with the judge, and I was like, listen, if you stop me from doing it, they're going to go to Anderson. They're going to go to Greenville. They're going to get it done. So you're just taking money right out of this community if you do that.
Smart.
I'm like, why don't we figure out a way
to hold them accountable for it? Like,
exactly?
Yeah.
So he actually came up with, the waiver, and if
as long as they sign that,
if it's you're going. I mean, you're my best friend in the world.
Yeah.
and
It ain't on me. It's on you.
yeah, if they sign the waiver that the judge created, then it's on them when they go to.
That's right.
Are they still throwing a driver's license saying I can't read it?
They have machines now.
Oh, really?
Yes.
They have meters that go over the.
Well, is it accurate? It'll tell you what's in that window.
Pretty close.
How do they do it for the front glass though?
Nothing's
guess.
illegal to have. Nothing's illegal on the windshield. If your windshield's tinted, it's illegal.
Gotcha. If they can tell it has some kind of film on it.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen this like Instagram or I don't know, TikTok, whatever, where there's a kid in a truck and you can tell he's pulled over, there's blue lights behind him and he's pulling
Rips
the
the
stuff
windshield
off.
off, yeah.
As the cops coming up to there.
That's no different than throwing dope out the window.
Well,
like it's still right
It's
there.
a little bit different. This is a little bit different.
Well, I'm not going to throw names out, but we have a friend who's been on this podcast, I think, a couple times. He has.
Well, I know who that is.
Now, he got a ticket for his windshield being tinted. And
Recently?
No, this was probably 2 years ago.
Oh.
So he made an appointment at 9 o'clock in the morning of his court date to have that piece of tint taken off his windshield. He made an appointment at 3 o'clock that afternoon.
Have it
to put back on.
Jeremy Dodd has not been on this podcast. What are you talking about?
No, it wasn't Jeremy Dodd. So it was.
gosh.
We'll just say Mr. Price is right.
Yeah.
There is a cost of education in everything you do. Way to go, Price.
Hey,
Yeah. So
I get part of the window tinting laws, but I also feel like, they're very similar to like gun laws. Half of them don't make any sense. The whole idea behind window tinting is the cops can't see in the car if they pull you over. They don't know what you're doing in there. But my thing is, if that's the case, write a ticket for not having your windows down when you get pulled over.
That's right.
If they want to see in, just make sure if you have your windows tinted, the windows are down when they pull you over and they can see everything they need to
That's
see.
just etiquette, man. If I get pulled over, I'm rolling down the window and put my hands on the steering wheel. At this point in its life,
Yeah.
and we instruct our customers to do that. We're like,
Yeah.
if you get pulled over, roll your windows down. If it's dark, turn your interior lights on. Put your hands on the steering wheel.
Yeah.
Put them outside. Do it. Make them feel comfortable. And if you respect them, make them feel comfortable.
For
They're gonna
sure.
do the
For
same
sure.
thing.
And I get the respect thing. If I was in their shoes,
that's right.
Absolutely.
I would want that as well.
Yeah. Don't reach in the glove box and don't put your hands on your seat.
No.
Yeah.
And don't
Just don't.
Have some
don't
common
run.
sense.
Just don't. I'll just tell you. So what else? And again, you can say, nah, another day. What else are you into?
Well, I kind of married into some stuff. My wife was kind of already into it with a partner, but we own several ice machines, the big ice house ice machines. And I'm
Twice the ice. Have you ever seen Twice the Ice?
yeah, we've got several of those. So and of course I jumped in on those feet first and head first, however you want to say it. So I'm all the time working on an ice machine or on top of one. If you see somebody on top of an ice machine, it's probably me, Coney County.
Those folks that are local, if you've called one of those ice machines, you probably called Chuck.
You did call me. My number's on all of them. So yeah, that would be me.
I'd have had a burner phone for that for sure. No way.
Well, I'm telling you, there's a few people I've got their number saved as like
Don't answer.
don't
Do
answer.
not answer ice machine
Yeah.
call.
Crackhead ice lady, because
Get ice.
some of these people, they've learned that because I can control that ice machine from my phone. I can control every one of them from my phone.
You just spit out ice. Or
So there's a few that's taking advantage. Call me. Hey, it took my money. Well, it probably didn't. So you can call me every other day. And it took $10. Come on now.
$10.
But
Which ice?
I gotta eat.
it didn't take the first $2 or the second $2. So I just kept putting it in there.
$10 at a time.
Yeah. So most people are pretty legit, but those few I've got them saved in my phone, so I just don't answer. And but we own some commercial property, and we got into some residential property, and commercial's where it's at.
Amen.
If
Amen.
if any of you guys out there listening, trying to get into rental property, go commercial. I promise you can thank me later.
Yeah.
It's residential is just a big hassle, and you don't make a whole lot of money on it. So.
The only residential play I see for investment is short-term rental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but to do that $1,200 a month for a house every month for
Now, I will say that, but you guys have one that has rented for like 30 years, right?
Well, she moved out about 2 years ago.
How many years was it before that?
She was in that house 12 years, I believe.
Like she paid the house off.
Yeah,
close.
And we tried to owner finance her the house just because she was such a good tenant.
Yeah.
Never asked for anything. Always paid her rent on time.
So I mean, there are the outliers, so I get what you're saying though, because that's kind of the situation I'm in now. So I'm like, I'd rather rent to somebody starting a business because typically somebody that's trying to run a business or start a business is going to be more apt to be able to pay you.
That's right.
Right? They're going to be more responsible, whatever.
Well, too, and commercial property, it's a lot easier to be the landlord because you're not. If somebody's not doing what they're supposed to do, you're not kicking somebody out of their home.
You're right.
No, that's right.
Right.
If
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have a big heart, and unfortunately, my heart's too big at times.
Yeah.
It's hard to kick somebody out of their home.
Yeah.
And two, and if somebody's not paying their rent, you have to evict them. You have to give them 30 days. And
Yeah, it's a long time deal
they're
versus
putting
a
holes
commercial.
in a wall or doing
Does that
stuff
rain?
to the-
Sorry.
Oh, I hear it too. Yes, that is rain.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry. Anyway, I get what you're saying though.
But not only that, but back to the automotive commercial window tinting. I mean, the commercial property is way more lucrative than the residential. It's just it's residential is just more of a headache, and you don't really make the money you make in commercial. So
Yeah. You got any? Well, we won't go there. I was gonna say, you got any because I know you've worked for some big companies, but I don't guess we need to go there. Let's get back to, and we'll kind of wrap the podcast up with this. Let's tell the story of your current building that you just bought for Solar Shield of Seneca. And I have a lot of personal attachment to this particular building, as you do. Not so much Jared, but he definitely knows of the story, I'm sure.
I bought a truck out of that building years ago.
Probably a couch.
No,
love seat.
just a '69 Chevrolet
Oh yeah.
that I ended up selling. to you.
Yeah.
But I did do business in that building before you bought it.
Yeah, the funny story about that building is that building was built in 1990 as a furniture store. And Kyle and I both worked there in high school. We delivered furniture, and then it
Washed cars.
eventually turned into a kind of a hot rod shop where he just bought and sold and traded. They didn't really work on them. They just bought and sold and traded hot rods out of it. And so yeah, I worked there in high school washing. And there's a car lot right next door, which we actually bought it too, and we just lease it back to them. But we washed lot cars, delivered furniture.
Yeah.
And,
repossession.
Yeah, did
Repoed furniture.
repos.
You ever repoed furniture before?
No, I've repoed vehicles with a guy West before, and
Furniture is a little bit different because you got to go in their house.
Yeah.
We repo cars too, but we had a key and we'd go in the middle of the night and that sort of thing. But yeah, they called me one day and it just, for where their business was and what they were doing, they just didn't need it anymore. And they gave me a good price on it. So I bought it, and I've already have some commercial property and I was like tired of renting and needed more space.
Sure.
And so we bought it, went in and, it
Revamped it.
It took us probably 3 months to get it where we could use it, working every single day.
Yeah, he went in, reground the concrete.
Dude, and you did it quick because I saw you the night at Soleil. You closed. You're doing a celebration party, you and Mary.
Yeah.
And then it's like no time. And there were employees out front, cars, getting worked on. Like in no time, you redid the whole thing.
Couldn't afford not to.
I get that. Cash flow. Let's go.
Well, it was like, I was like, we'll just, I'll just get all this done, because that's what you do. You think, with the commercial buildings I have now, somebody moves, they make a mess of it. We've got certain guys, vendors here in town that, they do us a good job and they do it at a good price. Sure. And so I called those guys and like the floors in the shop had carpet from where it was a furniture store.
Glued to it.
So I had a company come in and I'm like, all right, I need the carpet pulled up and I need this floor. I needed epoxy because what I'm doing, it's got to be epoxy so I can clean it, whatnot. And it was like $50,000 to redo the floors.
Local guy do that?
Yeah, Chuck Wriston did that.
He ran a grinder.
Oh yeah, I learned real quick how to pull up carpet and grind glue off of floors.
Local guy.
Yeah.
Hey, if you need anything done, call Chuck.
Yeah. If all
Flooring
else,
restoration, Solar Shield.
if all else fails, we're getting into the epoxy business.
Dude, it's no joke. When we did SouthCack Tap Room in Pickens, it was the same way. It was an old video store or automotive, like an AutoZone or something. They had carpet in there. Pulled the carpet up, man, it was just black glue. And I'm just like, God, dog.
What are we going to do? So
I bet we went through 3 different rental places going, that sanding pad don't work for what we got.
Yeah.
Like one from the size of this table and you've ruined. It's just glue.
Yeah, well, the ones we rented one that takes the big diamond disc.
It actually grinds the concrete.
Yeah. That's where we ended up. And it's just like, golly, dang.
But the bad thing is, obviously with everything, you're in real estate. You know, you have a budget. You know what you got to spend, and that floor, like epoxy, is not cheap.
No,
and that shop is like 60 by 125. I mean, it's like 7,500 square foot. It's big. So Corey met me up there. We finally got the glue off, got the concrete leveled, paid a guy to seal the joints because you got to have the equipment. So I paid somebody to do that. And we went in and epoxied the floors, and, we had us a drink after, like, man, this is going to be awesome. These floors look great. Like, we're moving up in the world finally, and we came back the next day, and it looked like we hadn't even touched it. That where we grinded that floor, it sucked every bit of that epoxy up. It took 3 coats.
Yeah.
Really?
What product do you use for that?
I don't remember the name of it, but
me and Chuck specifically, he's like a pro at this floor thing because he has a shop at his house that we did. Different epoxy than you used at Solar Shield.
That was Aquapon. We couldn't find that when we did Solar Shield.
Shout out to Aquapon because I don't have any complaints with that stuff.
No, that stuff's
but we did yours, we did mine, we did Jared's. Like, we've done 3 shops with that stuff,
and then Solar Shield which is
something
a different product.
Yeah, yeah. Solar Shield has a more deep gloss look that you think about when you see epoxy.
Yeah.
Like has a clear coat on top. Or
when
something.
we built the bar at the same tap room in Pickens, it was the longest bar. I forget how many feet, how many gallons we used, but it was stone coat. And the only guy I knew that had any epoxy experience was Chris Owens right up here at the other end of town. I called Chris, and I ain't talked to Chris in 20 years either. I'm like, hey, dude, Jared Cutting, what's up?
He's like, who are you?
He's like, yeah.
Did I do something wrong?
I was like, I got a job. You interested? And he said, I'm not really interested, but I will come down there. And so he spent like 4 days with us. And we were mixing 5 gallons at a time. And we spent a month because it doesn't dry overnight.
Right.
It takes days for that stuff to
especially
dry.
when you
And
pour
you
it
can't
thick.
pour it.
Well, and that's the difference.
Like the bar, you'd pour it this layer and then this layer and this layer. It was just a job, man.
Yeah.
And then the pinhole, if there is a pinhole, it's going to find it, and it's all going to leak out on the floor. Yeah. So then you're underneath the wood after day 1, realizing none of your shit set in there. With we used HVAC tape at the bottom of the bar because it held really strong, and then we poured it again. But I will hire epoxy out forever.
Next time,
I'll never do it again.
You're talking about like that table epoxy stuff.
Yeah.
Was it something boat?
A stone coat is what
but it's
what
like
it
4
is.
inches thick, whatever.
You can do it as thick or as thin as you want, but I wanted to look. So we melted crayons to fill in the cracks of the pallet board. So we laid down a bunch of pallet boards and melted crayons. So it really gave it you'd have to go there to see it.
Yeah.
But I do so many things different.
Yeah.
Like we ran out of, I don't know how many of those torches, those plumbing torches. And
to melt the bubbles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just popping bubbles and came into the canister. Keep going. I won't do it again. I envy that you did that big a space in epoxy, but it doesn't surprise me you coming in the next day going, what happened?
I was so, oh man, I wanted to cry.
The grinding part was pretty tough. I mean, you ran it on a Friday and you took it back on a Monday, so you had to get done in 3 days?
Yeah.
And he literally ground off probably a 1/4 inch of the entire place.
There was so much dust. I had to bring my tractor in.
They're shoveling it out
to scoop the dust into the tractor and haul the dust off. I mean, it was.
This is why our model here became buy a building, upfit the building, start a business. Everybody will buy the business.
Yeah.
Nobody wants the overhead of buying the building, and nobody wants to do what we're talking about right now.
That's right.
Nobody wants to put in the work.
Yeah.
But they will spend the money for a set of keys to the door and the business inventory.
Now, on the flip side of that, though, you would be the same way. Like if you were going to go buy a building right now and it already cash flowed and then the numbers made sense, you'd be like, I'm in.
If I own the real estate, I'm not.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. If you're going to buy some real estate.
Yeah.
And the business was already in there.
Yeah.
cash flowed rent wise.
That's right.
You'd be like, done. Watch,
Yeah.
if as long as it makes sense.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I have to own the real estate.
So, all right. This has been a good one. I guess we've kind of.
Chuck, you got any advice for anybody that wants to start their own business?
Don't be scared.
I heard that.
If you have faith in yourself and you know what you're doing, and I tell Corey all the time, Corey's very frugal, and I've tried. When I first met Corey, he was like, "I don't want credit. If I can't buy it with cash, I'm not going to buy it." And I'm like, "Brother, wrong world."
Yeah. Well,
your grandparents, that might have been all right, 100%. But in the world we live in, you can't. And now I hear Corey giving the younger guys, we've got one guy who's 20 years old and, or actually just turned 21 years old. And, Corey's all the time giving him advice, how to build credit, what to do. And, so you got to have faith in yourself. You can't be scared. And I tell Corey all the time, I'm like, scared money don't make money.
That's right.
Now you don't, if you've got a family, you don't want to take a risk that you're not sure about. But if you feel,
I think the problem is though, is that advice is for one particular portion of the country. It's like, if you can't afford it, don't buy it. Mm-hmm. That's for the people who aren't going to use the money and leverage it to make the money.
That's right.
Right. That's for the people that like every paycheck, they're going to go spend it on something. And so that's good advice. You don't need credit in that particular instance because you don't need to leverage yourself outside of what you can pay for. But there's another side of the world that takes, 20 grand, goes and buys $100,000 piece of property, then rents that and it pays them back. That's when you leverage.
But you got to have, and that's kind of what I told Corey. And where I got Corey on, like, you got to have credit. It's kind of off topic, but it goes back to the commercial real estate. You got to have credit to make those opportunities happen.
Yeah,
that's right.
We had a guy come, my wife and I had a guy come to us, and he owned a gas station in Alabama. And he was older. He was ready to get rid of stuff. He was selling everything. And he was like, listen. And we had some stuff with him before. So we'd worked with him before. So he knew us and he knew what we were doing, trying to buy some real estate, investment real estate. Because that's kind of our retirement. Our retirement is we've got income. He's like, listen, I got this gas station in Alabama. The lease is signed to pay the building off. But I want my money now. He's like, if y'all buy this building, the lease is in place for this, and it's a big gas company.
It's a guaranteed deal.
It's not a And so all we had to do was go borrow the money.
You need credit.
Paid him, and once the lease paid it off, like we didn't.
Yeah.
There was no risk.
Triple net. You never have to fix nothing. No calls. Nothing.
They pay the taxes. I've never even laid eyes on this gas station.
I heard that.
But you got to have the credit, and you got to have you can't be scared. Like,
you're right.
Scared money won't make money.
And my thing
you got to be smart.
Yes, exactly. My thing is this too. If you want to live that life of I'm not buying it unless I can pay cash for it, that's fine. That's fine. But why not have credit? Why not have credit too?
Exactly.
Why not do both? And that way, if you need it, you got it.
Everybody has their own definition of what success is and how they need to run their family. And I would encourage, if it's working for you today, do that.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
I'm not here to tell you you're doing it wrong. Doesn't work for me. But, if you want to pay cash for everything and it works for you, keep doing that.
Yeah.
So, well, this has been good.
Yeah, I enjoyed this. Thanks for coming. Thanks for the old fashions.
Thanks for having me.
So where can they find you? Are you on social media, Instagram, Solar Shield of Seneca?
We're on Instagram, Facebook. Hopefully Kyle can get my website back up, because I was trying to do some of my website today and totally shut it down.
SolarShieldOfSeneca.com. We'll try to get that up, but you can if you just search Solar Shield of Seneca,
just Google it. It's all over.
You're gonna find it.
So if you're in the upstate of South Carolina or North Georgia or Western North Carolina, then look up Solar Shield of Seneca. Yep. And what's your address there on Blue Ridge?
1785 Blue Ridge Boulevard.
And if you're looking to start a business around tinting, and you just want to make it fast, pay a little money, make it fast, we can make it happen.
We can. And we can even do some apprenticeship stuff.
There you go. Classes.
I like that.
Ooh, I like that idea.
Where you don't have to sign a non-compete, because you're coming here to train, you're going to pay X amount of, that's another podcast, another day.
Cool.
Yep. Thanks, Chuck. Solar Shield of Seneca. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
See ya.